Alright, this is going to be a quick breakdown on all of Zatanna's special moves. Her first special move is this fire breathing attack. Now it comes out kind of slow, but it makes up for it by being advantage on block. So if you do like a string or whatever and end in this fire breathing attack, you'll be at +2. And another cool thing about it is if your opponent's in the air, if they're airborne and you hit them with an attack, it'll leave them standing and you'll be at frame advantage so you can go for resets and stuff off that. The best thing about the special move is if you meter burn it, she'll shoot this large fireball which will travel at the opponent. Now, the speed in which it goes forward depends on the kind you want. So if I hold left while doing the fireball, it'll shoot the slowest one, which will disappear after a while in front of her. If I input the special and do nothing without hitting left or right, it'll shoot the other one, which will go almost full screen. It'll stop right before it touches on full screen. I'm going to show that again. So this is the one, this is the medium one, not the slow one or the fast one. It's the medium one. And then her last one is if you hold the right when you do the special move, she'll do the fast one, which will go all the way full screen and travel the fastest. Her next special move is she throws this ring at you. Now the cool thing about this projectile is you're able to guide it. So if I hold up, it'll go up. If I hold down, it'll travel downwards. You can freestyle guide it. For example, if I want to hold up, then down, it'll do that. If I want to hold down and up, it'll also do that. This projectile is pretty spammable. I mean, it's a little slow. It's 30 frames to start up, but it makes up for it by how safe it is on block. It's -13 on block, so you can pretty much spam these and not have to worry. It's one of the safest projectiles in the game. So you're not going to get punished by a lot of things by using these. The meter burn one will have a bigger hitbox. You can also guide it, and it's an overhead, so it must be block standing. And on top of all that, it's also advantage on block, so it'll push them back a little and you'll be at advantage, so it's really good to use. Her next special move is this 3 hitting string attack. Now these 3 kicks, they do a decent amount of chip damage. They do like 4% on chip. They also are not safe on block, so they're around -8, so your opponent can do a down one into a special on block to punish you, so they're not abusable. However, if you use meter, you can make them safe, and she'll go into this 7-hit string attack, which does pretty good chip. It does on block, that does like around 9 or 10% chip on block. It also launches your opponent, so you can get a full combo with that. And it's also safe on block. So let's say you do a string or whatever, and you go into her 3-hit kick special. If you see that they blocked your attack and you mistakenly linked into the special, you can just hit the meter burn button and make it safe on block. Her 4th special move is this card trick attack, where it comes out pretty quick. It's not safe on block though. It's like around -17, so characters will be able to punish you. But it's abusable on characters that lack in punishment. Like for example, if you're up against Ares, he's gonna have to kind of respect this up close because he's not gonna have much to punish this. Another thing about it is if you do your opponent with it, they'll go into a hard knockdown. So if you hit them with this, you're not gonna be able to roll on knockdown. Another special move she has is her teleport, which is probably the fastest teleport in the game. Now she has 4 versions of the teleport. The first version just being her default one, where if you just hit down up, it'll always teleport in front of the opponent no matter where you are. So it'll teleport in front of them. Her second version of the teleport is if you do her teleport and hold down, she'll teleport in place. So this is as kind of like a fake out. Her third teleport is you can hold back and she'll teleport away from the opponent. This is, to run away. And then her 4th version of the teleport is you can do this and then hold forward and you teleport behind the opponent. Now the meter burn version of the teleport, she recovers insanely fast. So if you do it, she can move immediately. As you can see, she can move right before she jumps, which is how fast it is. So that's very good. Her next special move is, she has quite a few special moves. Well, she also has a dive kick that she can do in the air. Now this dive kick is overhead, so for example, for mix-ups, if you want to use lows or whatever, you can do instant dive kicks. which can only be done in the air, and on block it's full combo punchable, so you gotta be, it's pretty much your standard YOLO move. You can't really, you gotta be careful with it. If you meter burn it, she'll launch the opponent, and then you can combo after that. And on whiff, it has a decent amount of recovery, so you know, you can't really use it to avoid stuff and get in like that and move immediately. Another special move she has is this move, which is pretty good because not only does it cover everywhere on the screen and it tracks your opponent, but when your opponent is hit with this move, they get a debuff where their controls will randomly be jumbled. So for example, let's say my opponent is Lex and he wants to do his Corp Charge, which is back 4-2. Well, when he's in this debuff and his controls are all reversed and, you know, randomly jumbled, he's going to have to guess what it is. He's going to have to guess which controls to hit, so very good special. Really cool thing about it is if you hit your opponent and they're in the air and you end in it, not only will it reset them, but you can come up with some very messed up situations. For example, let's say I'm doing a juggle on my opponent in the corner, I end in this. Not only are you going to get frame advantage and reset them, but they're not going to know what buttons do what. So having Zatanna up close in their face with that kind of debuff is very, very good. If you meter burn the move, she'll do hand signals, and it'll cause the opponent to go towards you, and this is pretty much it gives you a full combo. So if I do this, I could dash up and hit my opponent, and you know, it gives you standard full juggle. Another special move she has is this move, which is levitate. Now what you can do off this is you can hit down if you want to cancel it, and while you're falling you can go into a air attack. So for example, if I'm close to them, I can do this and then, you know, go into your juggles or whatever, or your combos. If you hold it, you'll stay in the air, so you can do things like, you know, let's say I'm buying interactable, I can bait them. I go here, they move like, oh, she jumped, she's trying to grab the interactable. Nope, I wait, and then I use the interactable. So she can do things like that. She can do her dive kick out of her stance, so, you know, let's say I'm jumping at my opponent. They're like, oh, she jumped at me, let me try to anti-air. Nope, you do that, you bait them, and then you can cancel into her dive kick and go into full combos. Another thing she can do, on top of all those others, is she can do this and then go into her teleport and then, you know, choose whatever teleport she wants. She can also do her teleport, cancel into her flight, which is a cool way of running away, because if your opponent doesn't really have any ground moves that hit people on the ground, it can avoid them. You kind of fall like that. So her levitate is really awesome. Now her next special is probably the coolest special in the game. It's basically she creates 3 mirror images of herself, and you have to guess which mirror image is her. So while she's in this is how the special works. If you input the special and let's say you input the special move and hold left, you'll become the clone all the way on the left. So the first clone won't hit, the second clone won't hit because it's not real, but the third one will, because that's where you chose for Zatanna to be. If you input the special and do nothing, you'll be the one in the middle. So the second clone is going to be the one that you are. And if you input the special and hold the right, you're going to be the clone all the way on the right, which means that's the one that's going to hit them. Now, the big drawback to this move is you can't block while it's active. So let's say you're up against an Aquaman player and they're full screen. I wouldn't advise using this move a lot while you're full screen, because he's going to be able to use a trident and, you know, you're not going to be able to block, and against certain characters it's really risky to do. But during this, I mean, she can do pretty much all her specials. She can obviously throw projectiles, but, you know, if you hit your opponent with it, it disappears. If you get hit by it, it also disappears. And using projectiles from it isn't really good because, I mean, they're going to know which one's you when you're throwing projectiles. But what makes it so dangerous is, let's say you do a knockdown and you go into this. Now, while they're getting up, they're going to have to guess which clone is you, and they can't tell. They have to, it's completely ambiguous. They're going to have to guess if you're the clone on the left, the middle, or the right. So you knock them down while they're getting up, you do this move and you jump at them. It's it's really messed up because they're gonna have to completely guess which clone you are, and if they guess wrong, you're gonna get hit, and then you're gonna go into a full combo, and you know, it's a really, this special move, in my opinion, will create some of the most messed up situations if done right. So it's a really awesome special move. She may have one more special move I missed. She has a lot of special moves. It's hard to keep track. Alright, I think I got all of them. Okay. Now, going into Zatanna's stance, if I had to compare it to anything, it's sort of like Raven's. She goes into this mode, and by her hat, there will be a purple orb. After all that is depleted, she will lose her stance and go back to her regular self. And it has about a 5 or 6 second cooldown, and then you have access to it again. Now, while she's in this stance, she has slower movement. Her dashes are different. She can't jump at all. In this stance, her jumping is disabled, and her crouching is disabled, so she can't duck either. She has access to 3 normals, which are her standing high, her standing 2, which launches them, and her standing 3. They're all safe on block. Another thing is, when she's in the stance, and your opponent does, if you block anything your opponent does, you're going to lose your stance. So for example, let's say I do a move and my opponent hits me and I block. You lose your stance immediately. So that's a downside on it, aside from the fact that you can't jump or duck. However, if you're up against an opponent, let's say they're full screen and you go into it, what this stance is really good at is she has some ridiculous zoning in the stance. She has access to 3 projectiles. She has an upward one, a straight one, and a low one. Now all these projectiles are advantage on block. They come out pretty quick and they're spammable, so it's going to be hell for some characters to get around, especially if they're not, you know, mobile. Her other 3 special moves is she has this move, which is kind of like an anti-air lightning attack. Now if you jump at her, she hits you out of the air. She has a reflect similar to Raven's, which will absorb a projectile and give you meter. She also has access to a ground launching move, which will pop them up in the air. So example, like her combo she can do is something like this, like 2 into this, you know, something like that. So this stance is pretty much all zoning, really good for building meter, and really good against certain characters. I'd say it's kind of matchup dependent. Like some matchups you're probably not going to want to go into it too much, and some matchups it's going to be really good. Alright, now that I went through all of Zatanna's special moves, they have really good synergy. Like for example, using her fireball attack in conjunction with her teleport, you can do things like, you know, force your opponent to block. For example, let's say you knock them down or whatever, or you shoot her a large fireball. You can do her teleport to come in, and while you're attacking them, they're going to have to respect the fireball behind them, so you get to kind of do whatever you want. If you want to zone, you can, you know, you throw the fireball and then, you know, go crazy with projectiles while the fireball is covering you. So you can do that to build meter. And the best way to use the slow version of the fireball is in the corner, because since it doesn't go that far, you know, you can put it in the corner like that, and your opponent's kind of, they're going to be like, okay, I can't really do anything because there's a fireball there, and you can do things like, you know, just do whatever you want pretty much. So you can do things like, whoops, got to do the slow one. Sorry, my execution right now is not that good for Zatanna. She's pretty execution heavy because there's a lot of buttons evolving, pressing, and she has a lot of things you can do. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Zatanna. I mean, I think she's a pretty cool character. She seems like a character you're going to have to put work in to get good with. A lot of her things revolve around setups. She seems to do best in zoning. She's good up close, but seems pretty unsafe in that department. She's a pretty awesome character in my opinion.